Hey, what's up guys, June here. In today's video, we're going over the week of October 26, 2021. This week, we finished up on 5.3 handles. So the first trade was a MNQ long. Originally, the market dumped lower and I was looking to capitalize on this wash or potential wash with a nice little quick pullback. That didn't happen. I did go over this possible scenario last week. So if you wanted more in depth on this situation, go visit last week's video. Regardless, I was looking for just a retest lower, and well, that's what it did. At this point, it's not really the trade I want to take. I don't think the risk to reward is there, but nice to see how it still went to test these lower lows or to test these bottom pivots. Right, so as the market started to range out, and I arrived at the charts, I'm like, okay, well, this is just a breakout range. Whether it breaks out higher or lower, not really my concern. I just want to see which way it goes. So I decided to break higher with a nice little kind of gusto, a nice little gap. And I measured this kind of swing and pictured this pivot here as my CAB. A reason for it, well, we're banging up on these, on this kind of level, whatever was this, 155.90 just about. We're banging up on it, then this pivot made the higher high, so that was my CAB. That's where I drew the line and placed my stop. It did bounce right before, tried, and it was a quick and clean kill. This was something to break, something to line into, so this was pretty good. I treated this as a double the range scenario where my target was this range projected above. So that was a nice trade. And that brings us to the secondary trade on this action, where it just decided to go on a bigger rhythm. So expanded, and basically this blue, or the entire range, came back to test my initial question, well, are we going to watch this level first? So this wasn't a blind buy for me because I wanted to see, well, if we watch this, then we could have a good right side entry. What ended up happening, I noticed this little press. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Bounced, came back down. At this point here, I'm thinking, well, it can either wash it or just break through it, or maybe it'll hold. That's possible as well. What ended up happening, we saw sellers show up right here momentarily. They didn't achieve much. They tried. And then what happened? Boom, we zoomed out through it. So at this point, I'm thinking, well, press swap. And that was the idea behind this right side entry, with the CAB being this pivot right here. We're banging this level, bang, bang, bang. However, this pivot here, made the new high. It swapped it. It was the change in behavior. So that's where I drew my line and put my CAB. In the case of the target, I was aiming way up here. I was looking at the much bigger flow. Look, just play this swing. I entered on this move. If it makes a new high relative to this pivot, well, or this higher high, I can take targets wherever. So, and it achieved the 5-to-1 max level as well. So that's one thing I'm still struggling on, but correcting over time. In terms of management, it was sort of in between management, because although I might be looking for a longer target, I should respect this swing. So where would that set up? Set up about right here. So I should allow this guy to play out. Regardless, I think it did go lower, so I would have been stopped out there. So even if I got stopped out in profit, that's not the point. The point is, this was in between management. I was doing the management for the orange swing. If I wanted a bit more for it to really run up, then look, localizing the stop like rule tight behind this press or behind here. At 5-to-1, the trailing stop is really tight. Trailing insofar as making new highs and seeing where the most recent buyers are in this progression. It's not a trailing stop as in, oh, I'm moving it every single time it makes a new high in equal amounts. No. when it's in the 3-to-1 range, I just kind of let it do its thing. Once it breaks out of 3-to-1, okay, I can even localize the stop, or even after this portion, as you can see, I can localize the stop because it quote unquote accepted the pivot. Right, and when it passes 3-to-1, tighten up stop. Nevertheless, stopped out at 1.5 or 1.25 handles rather. So, not much comments really. 5-to-1 max, but we know that already. So the next trade was on, still on the NQ. Okay, cool. Right, so this is how it expanded lower. At this point, the progression is not broken yet, still going to the upside. I consider this a swap, right? We have a gap, we banged, or seller stomped on it a little bit. I'm like, okay, well, we know sellers are there. Swap, had a kind of a short con, long con idea. For my entry, I was considering this pivot here to be the CIB. Reason being, well, this is the one that really knocked out of the park. This is kind of in process, right? The sellers are pretty crystalline here. This is the one that zoomed. Yeah, I could put the stop behind here, but in my experience or from recent memory, let's wait for right side. This ended up being a right side of a right side, hence the right side square notation. What ended up happening is we had something break, something fall into, and we had a nice little swap. I played kind of a gap retest with the CIB here, or CIB right here with some extra room. It just worked out. Very somewhat nerve-wracking, like, crap, I'm about to get stopped out. But nice to see these stops are working really well, all things considered. So that was probably my bigger project over the summer months, is proper stop placement. So nice to see that's working out. And insofar as targets, I was looking for a measured move based on, well, this is the orange swing, right? Lands here, measured move, 5-to-1 right there. I had an initial target placed right there, but this is the 5-to-1 max. I saw it stall and see like no reversal bars as of yet, but this was 5-to-1 max. Took the profit, didn't really care. Management, I did not move up my stop, although I was more concerned about taking profits than moving up my stop. So although the management, I put it correct, could have increased the stop profit all the way up here. However, again, I was more tuned into taking profits really quickly. So there's that. So that'll be it for this week. Not too bad. Not really any comments. Kind of a slower week. Or not a slower week, but it's actually, no, it's not really a slow week. Just moving. Definitely having more calculated entries, making sure I'm patient. Nice to see that the NQ is moving. For a long time, the NQ was like, not the most prettiest. I noticed that when it's moving, okay, that's not too bad. When it's doing a kind of extended pullback in a macro context, it's a little rougher. Whereas, let's say the ES or the Russell, when it's pulling back in the macro context, there's still trades to be had. That's my observation over the past few months with the way I trade. So I hope you guys enjoyed. That'll be all. Till next week. Adios.